bring the budget meeting or workshop, whatever we call this, to order. And public participation seems to be non-existent today. What could be more entertaining than a city budget? I mean, where would these folks be? What else would they possibly want to do on a beautiful day in New Smyrna than hear about the city's budget? I'm so confused, so confused.
Nobody's interested.
I thought it'd be standing room only.
And
but
here we are, working so hard.
I know, yeah. But it is what it is. So I assume there's no public participation. With that, we'll turn it over to whoever is taking this one. Is that you?
It'll be me.
All right.
So, Mayor, Commissioners, my name is Natalia Ekros, as you know, Finance Director, and we're here today to go over the budget for our administrative services. So our administrative services have 6 departments. It's city manager, city clerk, city attorney, finance, human resources, and business and economic development, CRA. So our goals are implement and communicate City Commission strategic vision, serve as information hub for our external and internal customers, such as our employee departments, different, of course, our citizens, local businesses, and so on. So if anyone have questions, they usually come to us, particularly to City Clerk office. Also, we provide legal help, implement all the goals and policies set by the Commission. We manage all the finances for the city, and our HR recruit, select, train, and maintain our employees. So this is our main goals and tasks. That's what we do. So first department we're going to talk about is city manager. So the current budget for the city manager office is $505,000, and currently we have 4 positions in that department. So the request for next year, which is 2022, is on personnel side would be front desk, reception at City Hall. I believe we really need to have someone there present because it's first impression if our citizens or customers come to the City Hall, and having empty place a lot of times really create the situation. Sometimes I know people even, go from door to find somebody who could help them. So that would person assist in greeting visitors, answering all the questions, and accept deliveries. For equipment, this is for public information officer. He's requesting portable lighting kit for camera interviews. That's his request. City clerk. Current budget is $425,000, and right now we have 3 positions in that department. So the request from Kelly's office is to reclassify administrative specialist 2 to administrative specialist 3. But I believe it was some change, right, Kelly? It was.
Is this Wendy's
Is that the position? Okay.
So it's an upgrade of that position.
Is that going up or down?
No, it's going up.
Okay.
Okay.
City Attorney Office. So current budget is $425,000, 3 positions currently there. So the request for 2022 on software side is legal file software.
I can save you some time. We're going to amend that and take that out. We had some presentations in the interim, so we'll skip right over that one.
Okay. What about Mini Pro?
UniPro, yes.
So that is a research tool to help in code and ordinance research. So which is not too much. We can afford it half $500. And for membership, for International Municipal Lawyers Association, $500 as well. Finance,
So
our current budget.
Real quick. well,
Let me go
we'll
back.
We'll just get through them, I guess we'll just get through them all, and then we'll come back if we have any comments or questions. So let's go ahead.
Mhm. Finance, current budget almost $880,000, 9 full-time positions. And the request for next year is on personnel side, accounting tech, to assist with variety of tasks around in our office, finance department, city growing, organization growing, and we just have never-ending, paperwork and request. So that's on personnel side. For operating, education and training, for continuing education and maintaining professional licenses that we have in our office. We currently have budget for it. We're not sure how much we'll be requesting extra, but it's just basically what our main area we will be increasing at this point. And equipment, office furniture and computer equipment for staff. We have quite outdated furniture, so at this point in time we don't know what exactly, but we just want to slowly start to renew some of our equipment and furniture. On software side, we asking for budget software. Currently our process is very manual. It's very time consuming, and many times it's just taking enormous amount of time, while on the market now we have very inexpensive softwares and tools that could help us to streamline the process, make it more efficient, organized, and it will be also ADI compliant. Human resources. Current budget is almost $300,000. Currently it has 3 positions. For next year, 2022, the request for personnel is risk coordinator / manager. At this point of time, we really don't have one single point of contact for any risk management program we have. We're all involved at some point of, between Kerry's office and mine, phase. But basically we really have no one who efficiently and properly manages the system. We really feel it's time for us to add that person. City growing, we saw is our exposure to different risks, and maybe we really need somebody who would assess, monitor, and try to prevent any possible risks and potential lawsuits we might have. On operating side, human resources request education and training budget going from 2,000 to 5, and also citywide training for various programs such as customer service, diversity, different types of harassments. Right now, as you see, budget is very low, and we definitely need to increase it. So we're asking from 500 to 10,000. And on equipment side, HR request a large screen for, I believe, some training purposes. Business and economic development. Current budget $282,000, currently has 2 positions. Request for next year is economic development coordinator. That person would assist with planning and implementation of CRA and economic development programs and projects that they have currently, and provide basically support to small businesses and all the expansions. I believe that person will be more geared to really true economic development. And on the operating side, equipment, office furniture, computer as needed. And that concludes my presentation.
Mayor, if I may just on that,
Sure.
one item that's on the risk manager, I have contacted the Utilities Commission to see if we could share that position. And they were not able to do that. They just hired one to replace, I guess, the previous one. And it seems like it's really full-time. So I tried to have a shared position with them, just so you would know. Thank you.
From a timing standpoint, I just don't have the agenda in front of me. This is it today, or do we have another one?
No, that's it.
This is
Mhm.
it, okay, good. All right, so, gentlemen, thoughts, comments, questions on any of these items today? And if you tell her, she can go back to maybe the slide. Mr. Clutie?
One item, you talked about having a new person at the front desk. With the annex, which hopefully we'll come up with a better name for it, have we figured how we're going to integrate that type of a position into the annex? Will we be bringing people mainly to the front door here or the annex door? How are we going to handle that?
I could answer that, Commissioner Kaloli. It's a two separate operation at this point. The people who go into the building department and development services, it's a lot different than the one they come to City Hall. And we need to have the position, we need to have somebody there, whether a volunteer or a position, because most of the time they come in, either when they call other departments, so they're interfering with their operation as well. So we've been handling it internally, but it's becoming an issue between the city clerk's office and personnel.
Well, I too feel there should be someone there. If we're going to have an empty desk, we should put somebody at it. People do have questions. And I do realize that the annex is mainly building and that type of things, but I just see it being a conflict one way or the other, that we should have a real firm plan for how to deal with that. And I don't know if just hiring an additional person is going to solve that.
They're really two separate buildings and two separate operations. I mean, there are some people that they come to City Hall that got nothing to do with the Development Services Department. So that's why it makes it kind of like a needed position to have in City Hall. I mean, we survived for a while between volunteers and part-time, but I think it's becoming an issue now.
I think there'll be a lot of, hey, go to that building over there, or that's over in City Hall. I think there'll be a lot of that. That's really the touch point is somebody walks in for a building permit and they walk into City Hall and you say, no, it's next door, or vice versa. They walk in and they want to talk to, about a public record, and they walk into the annex and they say, no, that's not, that's over there. So, yeah. Other comments, questions on anything that was presented? Yes, sir. You're good. He'll turn you up. He's working on it. Keep trying.
Natalia, you requested a person that would be a liaison between the city attorney's office and a risk management person or financing somehow. Am I correct?
No, it would be risk coordinator. That's what you're asking?
Yes.
Yes, so that person would be really managing any basically risk management program. So it's if, let's say, we have potential loss, any damage to the property, works comp, it's work compensation, any damage to buildings. So whatever potential loss we might have to assets, with employees, vehicles. So it will be very comprehensive citywide program.
I was just
So that's
wondering-
what we're asking. Did I answer your
Yeah.
question?
Yes, you did. I was just wondering if someone from HR could
Yes,
or
they,
would
ha-
do that.
they handle that as well.
do that.
Right now. You see, right now it's not centralized as it should be.
Yes.
Most really entities do have a person who is in charge of the whole program. Of course, we will be doing our part as we should,
Yes.
but somebody have to be really truly in charge, knowing what they're doing and give guidance to all of us. Because
Yeah.
right now they're giving us documents, we're signing it,
Yes.
but nobody really truly trained now in risk management that we have on our payroll.
Okay. Thank you.
Any comments? Go
So,
ahead.
so we're talking three positions with office and equipment total, right? So you have the front desk, you have you have the risk management. and then-
Four. We have four. One, yes, receptionist, one risk coordinator, finance asking, we don't have to, it's more of a wish list, and for CRA.
Okay.
Four total,
Four.
yes.
So, I mean, the big question is where you're gonna put them. You can't put everybody in the old,
Mhm.
Right now, it's.
Chamber,
Even
so-
without the four, you know, we have to kind of struggle converting the commission chamber into offices. We have had offices in that commission chamber. I think we had 8 offices in the conference room at some point. So code enforcement is supposed to be moving to the chamber, and they just hired 2 more code enforcement officers. So, and then we got these positions, so we have to come up with a different plan. We might have to revise the floor plan of City Hall to create more offices,
Okay.
more space. So as a matter of fact, we're looking at that as we speak.
okay. But we still have a building out on Flagler and Peninsula, right?
Yep.
Okay.
That building is still there, and,
All right.
but again, it's a, you know, unless if we move someone there, which the whole idea is moving back the development services
know.
to here was to make it more harmony and make it more efficient, so. But we'll come up with a plan.
Okay.
Okay, so I had a couple. Some just observations, ideas, things to think about based on, you know, what I've seen in my history, and then a couple questions. So, on the risk manager position, I have seen that go really, really south. So, just be very careful on that one. It is a necessary function. Like, we definitely need someone doing that. But I've also seen it go to an extreme where, you know, business almost ground to a halt because you have to accept some risk to be in business. I mean, it's just like getting in a car. Like, you accept risk by getting in the car. You mitigate it by putting on a seatbelt and having airbags and trying to drive safe, but you still acknowledge that there's risk to doing it. So we reached a point in one organization where, I mean, the functions of the business were almost not happening because they were all being held up by risk management. So, you know, and in that case, it ended up being, we made a change. We actually got rid of them as, you know, that person, and ended up, you know, going a different direction and doing that more of having the legal team and the finance team kind of managing risk as different things came up. So, you know, I'm not saying that to say do away from the position. I'm saying that to be very careful, and as city manager, be careful about the kind of the power that comes with that, because, you know, all of a sudden then everything can be, you know, that person can control everything because there's a risk to everything. And so now that person becomes the key decision maker on almost every decision. And so, again, I've seen that go badly. So just as you structure that power center, if you will, be very careful about it. Finance, you know, in my experience, finance, legal, and then executive leadership all have to work closely. And you know, risk management's job to me is more of identifying risk and providing options to an executive leadership team that then makes the decision on what risk are we willing to accept, what risk do we try to ensure, and then what risk are we not willing to accept, versus having somebody that literally has the ability to say, no, we're not, you know, I'm not approving that contract, we're not doing that, we're not having the food trucks out here because there's a risk someone could get food poisoning and then sue the city. And it's like, well, you know, this is part of doing business. Like, yes, that is a risk. But we have to accept some risk to have a functioning city. So take that for what it's worth, just something to think about as you
No, we
structure that
appreciate
position.
So,
So,
and most likely we'll start with a part-time.
yeah, that's the
And-
other thing thank you for reminding me. The other thing I saw is that's a position that they created a job for themselves in many ways. So, you know, all of a sudden I'm looking at, I go to meetings and I'm like, why are they here? Like, you know, so just be careful. If we can find somebody that's a retired executive that wants to take on 10, 15 hours a week, I think we can do a lot of what we have to get done in 10 to 15 hours a week. So anyway, happy to talk more offline about that. On the training, I forget which budget it was in, but I fully support that. I think, you know, one of my favorite quotes says, you know, what if we invest all this money in training our people and they leave us? And the guy's retort, it was some famous CEO, his response was, what if we don't and they stay? And that's kind of my thoughts on this. Like, I believe in investing in our people. So I love seeing this up there. Kyle and I have talked before on some things we'd love to see. You know, diversity, sexual harassment, those are kind of like almost compliance type measures. I want to see us going beyond that. I want to see us bringing trainers in here from Disney to talk to all of the different people that enter, you know, how about if we had Disney trainers talking to our code enforcement officers about, hey, you can deliver bad news. You can say no. Disney doesn't let you do whatever you want in their parks, but they do it in the nicest way. You feel like you're a part of the family, even when they're telling you to get off the, you know, to get down, you know? So there's ways that we can do this. I'd love to see us investing in that. Another thing just to be careful of, and again, previous organization, we found there was training budget kind of hidden all over the organization. There was $50 here, there was $1,000 here, there's kind of training budget mingled around. And we took an initiative at one point and we just brought all that into one central training pot. So that way we could control as an executive team, this is the strategic focus of training for this year, and this is where we want to go. Now, we have some unique things. I'm looking at our fire chief, we got our police chief, they have trainings they have to check. So I'm not saying we take every dollar, but from a, you know, any of the administrative things, rather than sending someone to an Excel class here and you know, some of these skill path seminars here and there, if we took a lot of that budget, housed it in HR, and had a formal program where that was requested, just something to think about. But I don't know, there may not be training Monday laying around, but if there is, just something to think about. The front desk position, I agree, we need someone there. You know, my hope is that we can find a way that position can do, we find the right other jobs that they can do when there's not someone standing in front of them. Like, it's almost been, it's been volunteers mainly, but it's kind of been binary of, you know, if nobody's standing there, what else are they doing if they're not answering the phone or greeting someone? So I'd love it if we could find some low-level tasks that could be done by that position that could be interrupted easily, you know, so hopefully that's an opportunity. And that's why I think the clerk's office, you know, we had to get Wendy out of there because she couldn't do the rest of her job. But so I support that. I want to hear more, not today, but just before we get to the approval. I'd have to really understand that other economic development position. Just understand current workload, what that would be, what do we get for that? You know, so I just want to understand more about that. I just don't understand it enough. And the last one, city attorney's office. I want to go back to that one if you could, because I was hoping to see, if I'm totally candid, I was hoping to see, yeah. So we have three staff right now. One's a paralegal position. We have, of course, Carrie, and then an assistant city attorney. Yeah, I think as we grow, I challenge my commission, how many issues have we tried to solve that either Chief Coffin, city attorney, or Brian's operation, I mean, they all go through COLID, but beneath that, almost every issue we touch, we're turning to one of them and asking them to go help solve it. We need their personnel, we need their time, either directly or their teams. Almost every single issue is either Chief Coffin, Carrie, or Brian's shops. So, you know, Carrie, I guess my question of you is, at what point, how are we doing on overall capacity? Because I don't want to hold up progress because we're worried about putting too much on your plate. If we could say, hey, do we need to budget for another person? Is this the time to level up? So have you thought about that at all, and what are other cities at for our size and complexity and growth that we're in?
So yes, recently this has come up, especially in light of the situation, you know, where potentially it's down to one person.
Right.
You know, and when you look at Ormond Beach, who's not substantially larger than us, you know, when you think about our, the issues we have the same issues as all the other cities, and we're tackling homeless, which is something Daytona has done, and we're doing it with 2 people.
Yeah.
So this is something that ideally it would be nice to have somebody who could focus on like police code, contract issues, and then somebody else who's dealing with like the land use and all the other issues. So i- i- it's interesting because the bigger cities have bigger staff, so they get to drill down more into issues, whereas we're, you know, a mile wide and an inch deep and having to. So it is something we need to think about.
So, yeah, and I'll put it out on public record that, you know, that's what it feels like sometimes. Yes, we're a mile wide and an inch deep, but yet as a commission and as a community, we're expecting to go, you know, 16 feet deep, a mile wide. And, so, yeah, when this comes back, you know, let's have some conversations, but I could support if you came back and said, look, we need, you know, I'd like to have another person specifically devoted to land use so that I can take this person to, you know, however that shakes out. You know, I think there's this perception, I hear it sometimes in the community, that we outsource a lot. The reality is, from what you and I have talked about, we really don't. We outsource sometimes when there's specific cases that we need someone to really just run with a whole case, or when it's a very specific, you know, so labor union negotiation. That is a very specific skill set that you have to know how to do that and do it, you know, every day, all day. Impact fees, you know, we outsource, we had an attorney specific to that. That's a specialty skill set. That's like a specific degree almost. So, you know, but outside of that, and you and I have looked at this, we don't outsource a whole lot, but yeah, I'd ask my commission to remember, when we hear from Chief Coffin, City Attorney, and Brian, we ask a lot of those three departments. And almost every issue we face, I've noticed one of those three are responsible for trying to solve it, and yet, so as they come forward and possibly need something, you've got my support, so. That was it. That was all that I had. And that's not, I don't want to put those three above any other department, just for, I mean, I know, look, I worked in finance. I know you guys work hard. I support every other department. I'm just saying over the past 2 years, the track record has been the fires that we are putting out, no pun intended, the fires that, he's not even paying attention. He's probably working a call over there. The proverbial fires, not the literal fires that we put out, have tended to flow, the issues have tended to flow through those other departments. If we had fires breaking out all over literally, I would be saying we needed to support, you know, Chief, so. Yes, other comments?
Going back to the finance department, we recently agreed to have not a full-time position, but another person come in to help out with some of the tasks that you have. Would that person be no longer needed if we had a full-time person, such as you're asking for?
No, position we asking it's clerical position. What we have, I believe you refer to consultant.
Yes.
So that's different level of task they would perform.
And you want to still keep that position?
Yeah, we have contract with the consultant until end of September, I believe, yeah. This is, as I said, this is a wish list. I don't have to have it. If between two I have to choose, I choose consultant.
Okay. I approved it at the time. I don't have a problem with it. But I know that we have, over the last couple of years, invested a really large amount of money in software in our various departments and things. And I just want to make sure we use that to the maximum, keep everything current, and just make it flow smoother for the public in general. Mr. Mayor, you did hit on one thing, and that's the financial end, and the legal end. And I have talked to Carrie about that also, because sometimes I wonder how she manages to get the answer to what I ask. And then I wonder, well, she was doing something, she just forgot 5 minutes what she was doing. She has 5 minutes to replace it, and then 5 minutes to get back on track. So there's no such thing as a small question.
Yeah.
So if you can organize and have, not specialists, but I think that would be a help. The last thing that I have to say that I can remember is I've always felt that we should explore the option of having a grant writer. There is so much federal money out there now, And state money, we all read what we get in our emails, and apply for this, do that. And I've talked to Khalid about it in the past, and he says, yes, we find time to fit this in. But there's just so much. Perhaps if we're getting into this end of it, maybe we should look at getting somebody, a professional, to work on doing that.
I think that's a position that would pay for itself.
Yes, it would.
I mean, genuinely. I
It's
wonder if they could
supposed
sit at
to.
the front desk and occasionally tell people what room to go into.
They have
It's
to work
beneath
from their
them, I'm
car,
sure,
though.
but,
Yeah, there could be condition of employment.
yeah, right. You're,
Oh, yeah.
well, I mean, you'd write one, so we could start on a part-time basis, but I mean, it's one of those things where you write one grant that brings in $500,000. We pay them 60, 70, 80 a year. They've paid their salary for the next 5 years, you know, so, yeah, I think there's enough.
And we do get, when we look through our packets, we find a grant application. It's not 2 pages. It could be 40 pages when they ask you all that information. And if we have a person that can work to organize that thing, that pays for itself over and over again.
Because grants are a lot like, you know, college scholarships. There's you know, I feel like, and this is no slight to staff because it's what we have capacity to do, but I think you know, we're always going to the same wells. You know, we're going to the state or certain federal things or, you know, Volusia County, certain buckets that they have. But I've said it before with Khalid. I mean, there's, you know, REI, the co-op, and they give out thousands of dollars to purchase land and do all these other cool partnerships. And, you know, there's a lot of other interests that align with ours, you know, foundations that align with ours. And I don't think we're tapping into that at all. And that just is somebody that literally spends the time just trolling through pages and reams to find the opportunities, and then spends the 2 weeks gathering all the documentation necessary to apply. So yeah, I mean, I think it is a position that could have an ROI. I mean, frankly, it's pretty easy to measure if it does or not. You give it a year or two, and if we're not
Correct.
getting any grants, we bail.
We would have to figure where that fits into our hierarchy of departments.
Yeah,
So,
I
something we should look at towards our next year of funding.
I can support it. I'm glad you mentioned that. I'd forgotten about it, but Kyle and I had talked about that a long time ago.
No, I can support it also. It just, it feels like we had a grant writer who also had another full-time job with the city at one time. And it was, you know, if we can have it solely for grant writing, have enough work, I would support that. Because they do bring us a lot of money.
And again, maybe it's
Especially if they sit at the front desk.
maybe it's I was half joking, but you know, maybe it's one of those things. We have I meet a lot of folks who are retired, but they're, you know, have these great careers and they're still looking for something to do. I mean, I got 3 of them sitting up here with me. You know, you all don't have to be here. You were kind of, you know, looking to make a difference in your community, and you chose to, you know, come out of retirement to do this. We have many other people like that. So you never know when you find somebody, so maybe it's not a 40-hour week job, maybe it's a 10 to 15-hour week with peaks and valleys depending on it, and we find some retired UCF grant writer or some, I don't know, some other university.
Yeah, you know, but we used to have one long time ago, a grant writer,
Yeah,
lasted for 6 months.
really?
But
Because
that was back in 2004, 2005.
lasted for that long because they didn't find anything, and so the commission pulled the plug, or leadership
I
pulled the plug?
guess there
or-
wasn't anything, there weren't many grants available, so
Yeah.
there wasn't much work for them, so they left to another position, so.
They
Right now,
left.
it's, yeah, they left, yeah.
Yeah,
Right now, I mean, we have so many grants, and we got so many staff members. I apply for grants, and mostly everybody I apply for grants, so. But we'll look at the position and see if at least we could start maybe with part-time, if we
Yeah.
could find somebody good. Because sometimes it requires special talent, especially on the technical part of the grant application, not the one 2 pages,
yeah.
but like the one with the St. John's and the other agencies, DEP and so forth. I mean, it does require not just a grant writer, but you need to acquire some technical expertise, so.
Yeah, and that's a deeper discussion, but yeah, that's one thing we do have to be careful of, is some positions, they are the position themselves, but they create work for a lot of other positions. And And so that can be one of those where it's like, hey, I'm applying for this grant, so I need, these years of financial data drilled in this particular way, presented this way. I need this stuff, so it can be one of those that generates a lot of other busy work for every other department. So it's something we'd have to be careful about. But yeah, I mean, I can talk to some of my colleagues. I know at Riddle we had, we were always, we had a whole department focused on, research grants, trying to apply for them, partnering with the colleges, but, a whole different setting I get, but, so, but the talent and skills are out there for sure, so. All right. Any other comments, questions on any of these items? Okay. Anything else for this meeting? All right. Hearing none, we'll close the budget meeting, and we'll see everyone at 6:30 for the regular scheduled meeting.